Mr. Seth Mitchell, thank you very much for returning to theboxingbar.com, and welcome, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Seth, the last time we talked, you had just come off a victory with Chaz Witherspoon. You told us how that went. Since then, in mid-November, you had a fight with Jonathan Banks. How did you feel going into that fight in November there?
I felt great going into the fight. Had a great training camp. My health was fine. Felt very confident going into the fight. It didn't turn out the way that I planned, but going into the fight, everything was on the up and up. I was 100% mentally and physically, and just ready to go. But some, things wrong and paid for.
In your opinion, what was the first mistake you did in that fight?
I believe the mistakes that I made was just my being too aggressive and lunging and not judging my distance right. He was a mover, not judging my distance right. That was leaving myself open, more open for his counter shots.
When you were dropped there the first time, how did you feel? What were your reactions? What were you thinking at that moment?
It was a short chopping left hook to the temple, and so it just threw my equilibrium off a little bit. I wasn't necessarily like out on my feet or anything, but when you got them cobwebs going a little bit, and then he did what he was supposed to do. He stayed, on me and allowed me to grab him, and he backed up and threw punches. And once you're already dazed a little bit, when you get hit with another shot, it doesn't have to be a hard shot for it to, throw your equilibrium off some more and just get you in a worse predicament. And that's what Jonathan did during the fight.
What would you say his biggest assets? Would you say he was a strong hitter? Would you say he was good at moving, offense, defense, a little of both?
Jonathan's a small fighter, but he's a counter puncher. He's not a real active fighter, but he knows what he's doing in the ring, and he waits for his opponents to make mistakes, to open up, and he tries to catch you with the big counter. But so I think his best attributes are his ability to capitalize off your mistakes and counter you.
That was your first loss there. How did you feel after that fight and going back to the locker room? Did you know that you were going to pick up the pieces and get right back up?
It was rough. I'm not going to say I was hurting. Not when I say hurting, I wasn't like doubting myself or anything, but it's just, the first time that you ever lost, it's going to be a rough moment for you. So that's how it was. And like the first, 2 days, it was like disbelief. And then after that, it's like, man, you start to replay the stuff in your head, and it's not a good feeling at all. It took me about a week to get over the fight.
And the reactions of everybody, like, let's say, all the media and stuff, and what you might have read on the papers, did it kind of, motivate you in a positive way because maybe all the bad stuff they were saying?
I know that it's a part of the territory. I don't get too high. I've always said before, the things that the people are saying is because of what I'm doing in the ring. You know what I mean? And so I knew, once, you had a bad performance or you had a loss, the negative print was going to start to come out. And you have your haters anyway, so you can't really worry what a lot of people are saying. When you're a professional athlete, you have to have callous, because if you leave the hype, if you think everybody is with you, once through a downspill, you'll realize the truth. And if that's the type of person you are, it can really destroy a person. So me, I just try to. And one thing that I did, I stayed away from the papers. I do a lot of interviews and everything, and a lot of time I don't even, read them. I have somebody else that's checking them out and just making sure everything is, written and said properly. But I don't read them too much. And after my loss, I read them less. And I think that's how I was able to, stay cool and just always surround myself around people that care about Seth Mitchell and not about Seth Mayhem Mitchell.
And that's true, and especially in boxing, it's most right. We judge people on how they bounce back. Jonathan Banks, after the fight, he said that his motivation was Emmanuel Seward's death, who he was close to. And do you think that was a big plus for him during that fight?
I don't think so. I look at it like this: if I would have destroyed Jonathan Banks in the first round, what would people have said? He shouldn't even have taken the fight. He had too much, a heavy heart. He was just flew down to Emanuel Stewart's funeral. He was doing too much. So I don't look at it like that. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. If I'd have walked through him in the first round, people would have said, you know, he had too much on his plate. He wasn't prepared physically and mentally. He wasn't there at the fight. So I don't look at it like that. I just look at it as, you know, unfortunate, you know, the great Emanuel Stewart passed during the time that we had to fight. And, you know, he came out there and did what he was supposed to do. That's how I look at it.
Very, very true. You know, his thing is that was his motivation. Now, what's your motivation coming into this next fight?
I mean, my motivation is just trying to get back on track where I wanna be. I wasn't far off from a title shot. If, you know, that fight would have been successful, probably latter part of this year, I probably would have been fighting for a title. So I just want to inch closer, you know, to that, get this victory under my belt, and then sit down with my team and go through that process again. But I don't think Jonathan makes a better fighter than me. You know, he got me, you know, November 17th, but you know, I'm gonna just go out there and I'm gonna do the job this time. That's my motivation. I do this. Boxing is not a easy job at all. We getting punched in the face, getting punched in the head, training, you know, to make a living, and you know, it's not an easy sport. So I just want to go out there and do what I have to do, because, you know, it's a big fight for my career. It's definitely a big setback fight if I don't come out victorious. So that's my motivation right there.
And I hate that question, you know, what's your game plan for your next fight? But let's go around that a little bit and just ask, is there things that you noticed in the first fight that you have to work on to go ahead and apply on the second fight?
Absolutely. I mean, without giving up my game plan, obviously, clearly, you always work on being a better defensive fighter, and that's one of the things that my camp and my trainer and I, we definitely, you know, putting extra emphasis on. Not saying that we didn't put emphasis on that in the first fight, but sometimes I guess you gotta, you know, go through some things before that light clicks, and it's definitely clicked. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited about this fight, and I feel that I've gotten a lot better, and I'm excited to show that growth.
And the Barclays Center, you know, is a great place to fight. Yesterday, you know, was a host for that fight, that big fight with Zab Judah and Danny Garcia. How excited are you to fight in that particular arena there in Brooklyn, New York?
I'm very excited. You know, I haven't been there, and I've seen a couple of fights on TV, and people tell me that the atmosphere is electric in there. So I want to be a part of that electricity and get the people to stand on their feet and, you know, and scream, you know, when I'm in there fighting. So I'm excited for the day to come.
And if you were to throw it out there and tell what I call the 3 big F's, your fans, your family, your friends, how would you tell them? What would you tell them about this upcoming fight with Seth Mitchell?
Oh man, it's a must see. I'm growing up in front of your eyes. You know, it's going to be, you know, I'm still going to bring the Seth Mitchell to the table, but it's just going to be a smarter Seth Mitchell. And it's a must-see fight, man. And my fans, they're anxious. They're itching every time I'm walking out. I'm walking around on Facebook and on Twitter. When you get back in the ring, can't wait to see you fight, champ. And so I'm excited and I'm motivated. And it's just a must-see event. And it's nothing like, you know, redemption, getting revenge back, and that's my main focus right now.
June 22nd, live on HBO, Seth Mitchell versus Jonathan Banks, the rematch. Seth, thank you very much for returning to theboxingbar.com. Thank you very much, and good luck to you, my man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.